The war ended not with a treaty signed by generals, but with a rescue mission that changed the hearts of an entire species. Captain Grace Mitchell had survived her crash landing thanks to Corvan civilians, who risked their lives to pull her from the wreckage, and her recovery became a symbol of hope that spread throughout the galaxy. The former war commander Brutex faced trial for his crimes against his own people, while a new Corvan government emerged that wanted to learn from humans instead of destroying them. 3 months after the last battle, the reformed Galactic Council convened for the most important session in its 3,000-year history. Representatives from over 300 species gathered at Nexus Prime to hear humanity's proposal for a new approach to galactic exploration and colonization. The council chambers had been expanded to accommodate delegates from worlds that had been considered too dangerous to contact, all of them eager to learn how humans had mastered the art of living with danger. Engineer Tony Gray stood at the center of the council chamber with holographic displays showing detailed plans for what he called the Frontier Initiative. Tony had spent his career designing equipment for human space exploration, but now he was proposing something far more ambitious: a joint program between humans and aliens to reclaim the thousands of worlds that had been abandoned to the monsters. His presentation showed how human expertise in dealing with dangerous environments could be combined with alien technology to create safe research stations on previously impossible worlds. The first pilot project had already begun on the world that Colonel Ben Hayes had explored months earlier. Human specialists worked alongside alien scientists to establish a permanent research base in the heart of what the Council had once considered monster territory. The base was designed using human knowledge of animal behavior and alien technology for environmental protection, creating a facility that could operate safely while causing minimal disruption to the local ecosystem. Dr. Amy Foster led the scientific team at the new research station, which they had named Harmony Base to reflect its mission of peaceful coexistence with dangerous wildlife. Her daily reports to the Galactic Council described breakthrough discoveries that were revolutionizing alien understanding of biology, evolution, and ecology. The plants and animals that had terrified alien explorers for centuries were providing new medicines, technologies, and insights into how life could thrive in challenging environments. The most important discovery at Harmony Base came when Amy's team realized that many of the creatures the aliens feared as monsters were actually highly intelligent, species that had never been given the chance to communicate with advanced civilizations. A pack of the wolf-like predators that had terrorized Centauri, explorers turned out to be capable of complex problem-solving and social cooperation that rivaled some of the Galactic Council species themselves. Council leader Praxis visited Harmony Base to see the progress for himself, and what he witnessed there changed his entire perspective on the nature of intelligence and civilization. He watched human researchers working peacefully alongside creatures that his species had fled from in terror, and he began to understand that the aliens had been wrong about almost everything they believed regarding dangerous worlds and their inhabitants. The success of Harmony Base led to rapid expansion of the Frontier Initiative across dozens of previously forbidden worlds. Each new research station revealed more wonders that had been hidden by fear and misunderstanding. Ocean worlds that had been abandoned because of sea monsters became sources of new technologies based on marine biology. Desert planets avoided due to venomous creatures provided medicines that could cure diseases the Council species had suffered from for generations. Commander Alex Reed was chosen to lead the newly formed Frontier Guard, a joint human-alien organization dedicated to protecting both the research stations and the wildlife they studied. Alex had distinguished himself during the Corvan War by developing new protocols for peaceful contact with hostile forces, and he brought these same skills to the challenge of mediating between alien scientists and protective animal parents who were simply trying to keep their young safe. The Frontier Guard faced its first major test when a research team on a jungle world accidentally disturbed a nesting ground of creatures that the Galactic Council had classified as apex monsters. The massive reptilian beings surrounded the research station and refused to let anyone enter or leave, creating a standoff that could have led to violence. Instead of calling for military intervention, Alex's team used human knowledge of animal psychology to understand what the creatures actually wanted. Dr. Lisa Parker, who had become the galaxy's leading expert on interspecies communication, worked with the surrounded research team to develop a peaceful solution She realized that the creatures were not trying to attack the station, but were simply protecting their eggs from what they perceived as a threat. By relocating part of the research facility and establishing clear boundaries that the creatures could understand, the team turned a potential disaster into a successful example of coexistence. The breakthrough moment came when one of the young reptilian creatures became sick and the parent brought it to the research station for help. The alien scientists watched in amazement as human veterinarians worked to save the life of a being their species had considered a mindless monster. When the young creature recovered and returned to its family, the adult reptilians began actively cooperating with the research team, sharing their knowledge of the jungle environment in ways that no one had thought possible. News of this success spread throughout the galaxy and led to the most significant change in Galactic Council policy since its founding. The Council officially abolished the concept of monster worlds and death zones, replacing them with a new classification system based on environmental challenges and the support needed for safe exploration. Humans were recognized as the galaxy's specialists in dangerous environment management, but they were no longer seen as monsters themselves. The transformation reached its peak when the Galactic Council established the first interspecies academy on Earth itself, bringing young beings from hundreds of different worlds to learn from human experts about survival, adaptation, and coexistence with dangerous life forms. The Academy's first graduating class included Corvan warriors learning wildlife conservation, Centauri artists studying predator behavior, and Valonian engineers designing equipment for extreme environments. Commander Alex Reed addressed the reformed Galactic Council 5 years after first contact, standing before an assembly that now included representatives from intelligent species that had been discovered on the former monster worlds. His speech marked the official establishment of humanity's new role as guardians of the galaxy's dangerous frontiers, protectors of both alien civilizations and the wildlife they had once feared. In his closing words, Alex reflected on the journey that had brought them all together. The aliens had feared monsters in the dark reaches of space, and they had been right to be afraid. But the monsters they had imagined were not the creatures living on dangerous worlds, nor were they the humans who had learned to thrive alongside those creatures. The real monsters had been the fear and ignorance that prevented different forms of life from understanding and helping each other. The galaxy was no longer divided between safe zones and forbidden territories. Instead, it had become a vast frontier where every world offered new opportunities for discovery and growth, protected by guardians who understood that the greatest strength came not from avoiding danger, but from facing it with wisdom, courage, and compassion for all forms of life. News of humanity's success with the monster world spread across the galaxy like wildfire, creating fear and wonder in equal measure among the various alien civilizations. While most Galactic Council members began to see humans as potential allies who could help them explore previously forbidden territories, one powerful faction viewed this development as the greatest threat their galaxy had ever faced. The Corvan Empire, led by War Commander Brutex, represented the most militant species in the Council and had always believed that superior firepower was the answer to any problem. War Commander Brutex called an emergency meeting of his military advisors in the fortress world of Corvan Prime, a planet covered in metal cities and weapon factories. The Corvans were larger and stronger than most alien species, with thick armor-like skin and natural weapons in the form of sharp claws and powerful jaws. They had always considered themselves the ultimate warriors of the galaxy, but the reports about humans challenged everything they believed about strength and survival. The Corvan intelligence reports painted a terrifying picture of humanity from their perspective. Humans came from a world so dangerous that it had shaped them into the perfect predators, beings who could not only survive among monsters but actually control them. The fact that humans kept deadly creatures as pets and willingly entered the territories of apex predators proved to the Corvans that they were dealing with something far more dangerous than any enemy they had ever faced. Admiral Sandra Brooks commanded the human exploration fleet when the first Corvan attack ships appeared on the edge of human space. Her fleet consisted of 12 vessels designed for peaceful exploration and scientific research, not for military combat. Sandra had spent her career studying alien cultures and building diplomatic relationships, but now she found herself facing an enemy that had already decided humans were too dangerous to be allowed to exist. The Corvan attack came without warning or attempts at communication, Their massive warships emerged from hyperspace and immediately began firing on human civilian transports and research stations. The Corvin strategy was simple and brutal. Destroy the monster species before it could spread beyond its Death World territories and threaten the peaceful civilizations of the galaxy. They believed they were fighting a war for the survival of all intelligent life. Sandra quickly realized that the Corvins had made a serious mistake in their understanding of human nature. While they expected humans to respond with savage violence like the monsters they believed them to be, Sandra's first priority was protecting innocent lives. She ordered her ships to form defensive screens around civilian vessels and began evacuating non-combatants to safety. Even though this put her own forces at a severe disadvantage in the fighting, the battle that followed shocked both sides in different ways. The Corvins were surprised to discover that human ships were not the heavily armed death machines they had expected, but rather lightly armed exploration vessels designed for long-range travel and scientific work. However, they were equally surprised by the skill and determination with which human crews fought to protect others, showing a level of tactical intelligence and sacrifice that the Corvins had never encountered before. Human ship captains used strategies that confused and frustrated the Corvin commanders. Instead of trying to destroy enemy vessels, human forces focused on disabling Corvin weapons and engines, while simultaneously rescuing survivors from damaged ships on both sides. Captain Steve Miller of the research vessel Discovery actually flew his ship between a Corvin attack cruiser and a civilian transport, taking heavy damage to his own vessel to protect the helpless refugees aboard the transport. The turning point of the battle came when Corvin forces began bombarding civilian populations on several alien worlds, believing that humans would use innocent beings as shields. War Commander Brutex had ordered these attacks to force humans into the open where they could be destroyed, but he had completely misunderstood human psychology. Instead of abandoning the civilians to save themselves, human forces threw themselves into desperate rescue missions that defied all military logic. Dr. Peter Lawson served aboard the medical ship Mercy, which had been converted from a research vessel when the fighting began. As reports of massive casualties reached the human fleet, Peter and his medical team made the dangerous decision to enter active combat zones to treat wounded beings from all species involved in the fighting. The sight of human doctors risking their lives to save injured Corvins began to create doubt among the enemy ranks about who the real monsters were. The Corvin soldiers had been told that humans were savage beasts who killed for pleasure and kept other monsters as slaves, but when they were captured or wounded in battle, they found themselves being treated with kindness and respect by human medical staff who worked tirelessly to heal injuries and ease suffering. Many Corvin warriors began to question their leaders' claims about human nature when they experienced human compassion firsthand. The most dramatic moment of the war occurred when the Corvin High Command decided to use orbital bombardment against their own civilian populations to deny humans any potential allies. War Commander Brutex believed that destroying entire cities would force humans to reveal their true monster nature by responding with equal violence. Instead, human Captain Grace Mitchell led a squadron of ships directly into the bombardment zone to evacuate Corvin civilians whose own government was trying to kill them. Grace's ship, the Explorer, took massive damage while loading Corvin families onto rescue shuttles. When her engines failed and the ship began falling toward the planet's surface, she ordered her crew to abandon ship while she manually piloted the vessel away from populated areas. The sight of a human willingly sacrificing her life to protect Corvin children was broadcast across the galaxy and changed the course of the war in a single moment. The rescue of Grace Mitchell by Corvin civilians who refused to let their savior die marked the beginning of the end for War Commander Brutex's regime. Corvin military units began defecting to join human rescue operations, while civilian populations rose up against leaders who had been willing to destroy their own people to fight an imaginary threat. The war that was supposed to eliminate the human monster species instead revealed that the real monsters were those who valued conquest over compassion. As the fighting came to an end, both humans and aliens began to understand that the galaxy's greatest threat had never been the creatures living on dangerous worlds. The true monsters were the fear and hatred that prevented different species from understanding each other and working together for the common good. The war had shown that humans were not the savage predators the aliens had feared, but rather a species that had learned to channel their strength into protecting others instead of destroying them. The aftermath of the Corvin War would reshape galactic politics forever, as species after species began to reconsider their assumptions about strength, survival, and what it truly meant to be civilized in a universe full of wonders and dangers. Fleet Admiral Ryan Cooper led the largest human diplomatic mission ever. Assembled as 12 ships approached the Galactic Council's main station called Nexus Prime, the massive space station looked like a beautiful crystal palace floating among the stars, with smooth curves and glowing lights that created a sense of peace and harmony. Ryan had been chosen to represent humanity because of his calm nature and ability to solve problems without violence, skills that would prove very important in the coming days. As the human ships docked with the station, thousands of alien beings gathered to see the newcomers from the dangerous outer regions. The aliens looked nothing like the monsters humans had been warned about. Instead, they appeared delicate and graceful, with soft features and gentle movements that reminded Ryan of artwork more than living creatures. The Valonians were there along with dozens of other species, all watching the humans with a mixture of curiosity and fear. Commander Zethka greeted Ryan at the docking bay, and the alien leader seemed surprised by how normal the humans looked. Zethka had expected to meet savage warriors covered in scars and carrying terrible weapons, but instead, he found polite diplomats wearing clean uniforms and carrying flowers as gifts. The Valonian commander struggled to understand how these peaceful-looking beings could survive in the death worlds that had claimed so many alien lives. Dr. Amy Foster, the mission's chief scientist, began her work immediately by studying the biological differences between humans and the various alien species. She set up a small laboratory in the guest quarters and started comparing DNA samples, bone density measurements, and physical capabilities. What she discovered amazed her and would later shock the entire Galactic Council. Every alien species she examined was physically weaker than humans in almost every way possible. The aliens had hollow bones like birds to reduce their weight, but this made them break easily. Their muscles were designed for precision work rather than strength, making them unable to lift heavy objects or run fast. Their immune systems had never encountered dangerous diseases, so even a common human cold could kill them. Most surprising of all, their brains had never developed the ability to handle stress or fear because they had never needed those survival skills. During the first formal meeting with the Galactic Council, Ryan learned the true history of the galaxy's exploration efforts. The council chamber was a huge dome filled with representatives from over 200 species, all living in perfect harmony, under strict rules that kept everyone safe. Council leader Praxis, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms, explained how their civilization had grown by avoiding all dangerous worlds and focusing only on garden planets where life was easy and comfortable. Praxis activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy divided into safe green zones and dangerous red zones. The green zones contained thousands of peaceful worlds where the council species lived and worked together. The red zones were marked as forbidden areas where monsters ruled and no intelligent life could survive. Earth and all the worlds humans had explored were located deep in the largest red zone, a fact that confused the alien leaders greatly. The historical records that Praxis shared told a story of constant retreat from danger. Whenever council exploration teams found a world with large predators, poisonous plants, or extreme weather, they would mark it as too dangerous and look for easier targets. Over millions of years, this strategy had created a galaxy where advanced civilizations only existed in the safest possible environments while all the challenging worlds remained unexplored and unmapped. Ryan asked to see the actual footage from these failed exploration missions, and what he saw made him understand why the aliens were so terrified. The videos showed council ships approaching planets that looked very similar to Earth, with forests, oceans, and normal weather patterns. But when the alien crews landed, they panicked at the sight of ordinary animals going about their daily lives. One particularly clear video showed a team of Centauri explorers, beings that looked like tall flowers with legs, encountering a pack of wolves in a forest. The wolves were simply curious about the strange visitors and approached to investigate, but the aliens interpreted this as an attack by vicious monsters. The Centauri crew abandoned their equipment and ran back to their ship, screaming that the planet was inhabited by unstoppable killing machines that hunted in organized groups. Another video showed Corvin military forces, the toughest species in the council, being defeated by what appeared to be a group of bears defending their cubs. The bears had no interest in fighting but simply wanted the loud aliens to leave their territory alone. However, the Corvin soldiers saw this as an assault by armored monsters that could not be stopped by their energy weapons, which were designed to stun rather than harm living creatures. Dr. Foster realized that the aliens had made a crucial mistake in their understanding of life on dangerous worlds. They assumed that any creature capable of violence was automatically evil and bloodthirsty, when in reality most animals only fought when they felt threatened or needed to protect their families. The aliens had never learned to read animal body language or understand the difference between aggression and defensive behavior. The most shocking revelation came when Ryan showed the council some basic footage of human life on Earth. The videos included scenes of people walking dogs in parks, children playing with cats, and farmers working alongside horses and cattle. The alien representatives watched in stunned silence as humans casually interacted with creatures they considered deadly monsters. When the footage showed a human veterinarian treating a sick lion, several alien delegates fainted from the shock of seeing someone voluntarily approach such a dangerous predator. Council leader Praxis asked Ryan to explain how humans had managed to survive on a world full of monsters for so long. Ryan tried to describe the concept of domestication and wildlife management, but the aliens could not understand how anyone could live peacefully with dangerous animals. To them, the fact that humans kept some predators as pets and protected others in special parks proved that humans must be the most terrifying monsters in the galaxy, creatures so powerful that they could force other monsters to obey them. The meeting ended with the Galactic Council in complete confusion about what humans really were. Some delegates believed humans were the ultimate predators who had conquered their death world through superior violence. Others thought humans might be a new type of monster that used intelligence instead of claws and teeth to dominate other species. None of them considered the possibility that humans had simply learned to understand and respect the natural world, instead of running away from it. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Liberty and watched the stars through the main window. His crew had been traveling through space for 6 months now, looking for new worlds and new life. They had found many empty planets but no signs of intelligent beings until today. The radio officer, Lieutenant Mary Johnson, suddenly turned around with wide eyes and called out that they were getting a signal from somewhere ahead of them. Jake walked over to Mary's station and put on the headphones. Strange sounds came through the speakers, not like any human language he had ever heard. The sounds were high and musical, almost like singing birds mixed with whale calls. Dr. Lisa Parker, the ship's scientist who studied alien life, hurried over to help translate the message. She had spent years learning how to understand different types of communication, and her computer programs began working on the alien sounds right away. After 2 hours of hard work, Lisa managed to decode parts of the message. Her face went pale as she read the translation to Jake and the rest of the bridge crew. The aliens were warning them to stay away from something they called the Death Worlds. The message talked about monsters that lived in dark space and creatures so terrible that entire fleets had been destroyed trying to fight them. The aliens wanted humans to come to their safe inner systems, where the Galactic Council protected all peaceful species from the horrors that lurked in the outer regions. Jake felt confused by this message. Humans had traveled through many dangerous parts of space and had never seen any monsters. Their home planet Earth was full of dangerous animals, deadly weather, and diseases that could kill. But humans had learned to live with all of these things. He wondered what could be so scary that an advanced alien race would run away from it. Lisa began studying the biological data that came with the alien message, and what she found made her gasp in surprise. The aliens who sent the message were called Valonians, and their leader was Commander Zethka of their defense fleet. According to the data, Valonians were tall and thin with pale blue skin and large eyes. They looked fragile compared to humans, and their bones were much weaker. The information showed that their homeworld was like a perfect garden, with no dangerous animals, no diseases, and weather that never changed. Every part of their planet was controlled and safe. Lisa shared this information with Jake and explained that these aliens had never faced real danger in their entire evolution. While humans had to fight bears, tigers, and wolves to survive, the Valonians had lived in complete safety for millions of years. Their bodies were not strong like human bodies because they never needed to be strong. Lisa realized that what the aliens called monsters might just be normal wild animals like the ones that lived on Earth. Jake decided to send a reply to Commander Zethka. He recorded a message explaining that humans came from a world full of dangerous creatures and that they were not afraid of the monsters the aliens described. He also sent some basic information about Earth, including pictures of human cities and some of the animals that lived on their planet. Jake thought the aliens would be interested to learn about Earth's wildlife and how humans managed to live safely alongside dangerous creatures. The reply from Commander Zethka came back much faster than expected. The alien leader sounded very worried and begged the humans not to go to the Death Worlds. He explained that the Galactic Council had tried many times to explore those regions, but every mission had failed. Ships would disappear or come back with crews that had gone crazy from fear. The few survivors who made it back told stories of worlds covered in monsters that could kill with teeth, claws, poison, or just their terrible appearance. Zethka sent more detailed records of these failed missions. The files showed videos of alien exploration teams running away from creatures that looked very similar to Earth animals. One video showed Valonian soldiers screaming in terror as they encountered something that looked exactly like a grizzly bear. Another file contained reports of an entire alien research station being abandoned after the crew discovered venomous snakes living nearby. The aliens treated these animals like unstoppable killing machines that could not be fought or reasoned with. Lisa studied these records carefully and began to understand why the aliens were so afraid. The Galactic Council species had never learned to hunt or fight because they never needed those skills. When they met real predators, they had no idea how to protect themselves or how to understand animal behavior. What seemed like mindless monsters to them were actually just animals following their natural instincts to find food and protect their territory. Jake called a meeting with his senior officers to discuss what they had learned. Chief Engineer Tony Gray pointed out that if the aliens were this afraid of ordinary animals, they might think humans were the real monsters when they learned about Earth's ecosystem. Security Chief Ben Hayes agreed and suggested they should be very careful about what information they shared with the Galactic Council. Dr. Parker recommended that they accept the alien invitation to visit their inner systems but should not mention Earth's more dangerous animals until they understood alien culture better. The crew of the Liberty prepared to make history as the first humans to meet an alien civilization. Jake knew this moment would change everything for both species, but he had no idea just how much the truth about humanity would shock the peaceful aliens of the Galactic Council.